Thank you, Zina, for such an interesting talk. I think that if we Google thinking out of the box, probably we'll need to have Zina's picture as an outcome, because she really helped us to think in a different way, to see, as she said, which is our piece in this puzzle. We all have different skills, we all have different expertise, so I would like to encourage, with the words of Zina, to try to think together, think out of the box, and see how we can move our space sector forward. So I would really like to see how this fits in the next roundtable, Michael.
Yes, I'm happy to present now the second roundtable of this morning, which is going to talk about quantum technology for new space, with three panelists which are really expert on this topic. And yeah, as Zina already explained during her amazing talk, there is a quantum revolution happening around us. For example, if we go into the space field, in very recent years, there have been large investments towards the improvement of these quantum technologies applied to the space sector. We can see how power capabilities of quantum computing and quantum simulations can be applied to engineering, and it seems to be unlimited. And I'm looking forward to having, I don't know, maybe they can explain us when it's going to happen, but I'm looking forward to having the possibility of using these technologies for our simulations at the university for research. So please work hard. Also, for example, quantum technologies are also addressing and mitigating some of the biggest challenges we are facing today in our digital era, because secure communications based on satellites are now crucial for the well-functioning of our daily lives. And the use of these quantum technologies is going to play a very important role on this. So, to conduct this panel, we've got Carlos Abellan, who is co-founder and CEO of Quside, which is a quantum technology spin-off which comes from ICFO, which is the Institute of Photonics Science of Catalonia. In there, he developed the quantum randomness technologies that were transferred to this spin-off, Quside. He's got 10 years of experience in quantum and photonic technologies, and he's the co-inventor of multiple patent families and co-author of more than 15 papers in top scientific journals. He also received the award MIT Innovators Under 35 Europe. So, I don't know you, but I'm looking forward to hearing for this panel, which some of the topics they are going to talk about can seem a little bit of like a science fiction, but it's not. This is reality. Please give a big applause to Carlos.
Good afternoon, everyone. I guess you can hear me well. And please, the rest of the panel, Zina, Vanesa, Frank, if you can join me. Today, in this panel, in the next 25 minutes, we're going to be talking about quantum technologies. So we heard a lot of things about Zina in this dramatic twist of the change. So what we will try to do is narrowing it down and share with you some of the initiatives that are going on and how maybe these synergies between space and quantum can turn out together. So from my side, I'm Carlos Abellan. I'm co-founder and CEO of Quside. We focus on developing quantum and photonic technologies, chipsets, and modules. We're applying them for both ground applications and different markets, but also in space, where the technology is being developed in several missions for space. And I'm very happy to be having you all here on board. So what we will do to start with is a quick round of introductions of 1-2 minutes each. So you tell us what you do. Maybe Zina, you can do that again. If not,
I can keep things very short because I would love to give more time for people who are actually working on quantum space. My name is Zina Cinker. My background is in condensed matter and graphene. I lead a think tank. They just gave me. Yes, I'm very excited in all different areas of technology. So I think that I would leave it at that.
I'm Vanesa Díaz. I'm the CEO of Luxquanta. We are a spin-off as well from ICFO, so we are brothers of Carlos Abellan and his company Quside. And what we do is we actually use his randomness to send it in a safe way to another side of the link. So at the end we have a cryptographic key, let's say. We protect communications.
Frank?
Yeah, so my name is Frank Preud'homme, and I'm the Vice President Business Development now for Redwire Europe. I maybe take the time shortly to introduce Redwire also. So I'm currently active for our 35 years in space now, as is our company, which was formerly known as Verhaard Space, later on Kinetic Space, and we were acquired by a US investor group, Redwire, last year, so 1 year now. And Redwire is actually a startup company with a main base in the US and now also growth strategy in Europe, where we are the center part of. And we are actually gathering companies that have a good space heritage but are very innovative still. So we're talking about new space, old space, but we're trying to bring those two together, basically. And so we're involved in quantum technology because we are actually currently building a quantum key distribution satellite with a UK partner. That's a commercial initiative, so we want to be together the first to deliver QKD services, also based on satellites, to commercial customers.
Thank you very much, Frank. So before jumping in then to the questions, let me ask you a couple ones to you. So how many are you directly involved in developing space technologies? You can raise your hands. Is it everyone developing space technology? Okay. I expected a bit more, to be honest. And how many of you are familiar with quantum technologies or are developing quantum technologies? Okay, just a handful. So let me start by this. And Zina, you glimpsed about in your talk very quickly. So quantum technologies is a broad field as well. What are the main areas of quantum technologies or the main applications of quantum technologies for in general, but maybe a bit specific to space as well?
I would actually be very interested to ask you guys a question of explaining what QKD is.
Okay.
So how about I do it that way? Because I can talk about quantum and space, and I can talk about the different areas from computation to sensing to cryptography. But one of the things that is interesting to me, if I could just bring a segue in, is that we get asked, we work a lot with different governments and with different enterprises. And when it comes to some certain areas, such as quantum development, and also in certain areas, such as interstellar travel, or I don't know, various space exploration, etc., some of the questions are, why are we developing some things for very far away, I would say, goals? And one of those things is that, as we've seen, especially in space, many of the development of technologies and investment that goes into those technologies bear fruits for our everyday lives. They become a part of what we're using, not knowing that they were used for development of certain technologies for space exploration, but now they are a part of it. So I think that I see that, especially with the development of some of the quantum aspects in space, we're seeing that that is going to not only impact what is going to be in space, but it's going to be impacting everyone's lives and technologies that we use on Earth.
So you bring quantum communications, then I'll transfer to Vanesa. So Luxquanta is a company building quantum key distribution systems, mostly for ground applications, but we're seeing that there is tremendous potential also for space, and Redwire is one of the examples on how that transition goes. Can you explain briefly about quantum key distribution in this case?
Yeah, today when we communicate, we don't send the information like in a postcard all open so everybody can read it. We hide it somehow using cryptography. This means that we destroy the information in a controlled manner, and that controlled manner is called the key. And we pre-agree before we send the information what criteria we're going to follow with the other side. So what we are doing today is agreeing on that key, protecting it by relying on mathematical problems that right now current computing will take a bit too long to solve. So that's how we're protecting our communications. So the fear now is that quantum computers eventually will reach certain capacity and they will be able, for sure, this is something that we know. It's not something that it might happen. It's for certain. Eventually they will get certain capacity and they will break this cryptography. So quantum key distribution distributes a key, protecting it using the laws of quantum physics. So really what we do is protecting the world from the bad side or bad use of quantum computers. So it's really important technology. That's why the world has embarked upon this frantic race to make sure that this technology is born and bred within their countries. So the European Commission, for example, has been funding massively this technology. So what Luxquanta is doing is we work with a specific flavor of this technology that is a bit more easy to install in existing optical fiber networks. So we work at the terrestrial level, but we are also looking into space because it's pretty important. The thing is that the maximum distance of this technology right now is limited. We're working around a few hundred kilometers in the best case. And if we think about interconnecting cities and within a same country, that would be okay because we can do hop on, hop off. But if we want to go beyond, we need to rely on satellite communication. So that's why we need to agree on the key into space.
So then we have QKD for ground technology that is mature and people can use today. There are limitations in the distance that can be done, and space technologies is one of the ideas to expand distances and create much bigger links. So Frank, how did you get started on QKD at Redwire?
Yeah, and it immediately links in what you're saying, because you have indeed the limitation currently, because there are no quantum repeaters yet available to cross bigger distances. And so one of the, let's say, lead customers that in our consortium was involved was British Telecom. So they are planning a network for quantum communication in UK. But obviously UK is a relatively big country, as Spain is, so you have to cross big distances. And so they came across talking to partners, see how to solve that, to make bridges through open space in vacuum, because there obviously you have no loss of your signal because you're crossing vacuum and you can cross bigger distances. So that's how we got involved. So we currently are developing a satellite system. So it involves obviously a satellite. There is a payload which is generating indeed the quantum keys on board, and then obviously with the ground telescope are brought to ground using different protocols. There is a ground telescope, and then you have to inject it into a ground network, which is one of the things that still needs to be solved. Obviously, and that is part of the demonstration that we are planning to do. So one of the big challenges is that what we are trying to do, because there have been satellites before, the Chinese were the first ones to demonstrate that there are a number of satellites under development, but what we are trying to do is really to be operational. So that means that we have to make sure that we can generate a big amount of keys, that we have a large bandwidth of keys that we assume to be safe to be used, so that we are sure that they have not been interrupted with. And that is one of the big challenges and the simulations that we have been doing initially with the customer, with our end customer, and to see if we can generate sufficient keys to have a viable business case.
Okay, we'll get back to the business model and the application side. But maybe you can share, so because quantum technologies and maybe this conference also is NewSpace, and there are constellations, big satellites, small satellites, LEO orbits, geo orbits. What is QKD in all of that landscape? A QKD payload, where good is it?
So we are currently looking to a LEO, and one of the let's say the attractive things and the business case is that we can work already or be operational with one satellite, and we can gradually grow into a network of satellites in LEO. So we've been optimizing a bit on the let's say the height of the satellites, the orbit. Because initially we wanted also to have an entangled photon source payloads. We dropped that along the way for a number of reasons. And now we are at let's say a normal LEO orbit. So we haven't been looking to go higher because that brings a number of additional challenges, let's say.
Okay. You pointed out something that is quite important, and we're also seeing on that front. So you get a QK, let's say we assume we have a global network of satellites distributing keys around there, but eventually they get somewhere on the ground. and you almost solve the beginning. That key needs to be sent somewhere else. What happens in the ground, Vanessa, when those keys hit the ground? Is there a role to play for?
Yes, we'll take it from there, basically. So what we will do is we will install these units. At the end, when we think about quantum key distribution, you need to picture a hardware solution. So at the end, it's 2 units that you need to place at both sides of the link that you want to protect, and they will literally chitty-chat with each other. Again, using quantum physics to make sure that if anybody sneaks into the link, they'll be able to tell, and therefore no cryptographic key will be agreed. And if the link is clean, when that information was shared, then a key will be created. So there will be a network of these point-to-point links, like a mesh, imagine. And there will be machines on top of that will be coordinating the different keys. So if you want to go from where the keys land on Earth, to a different point in the city, there will be machines telling you which combination of keys you need to get. So you can have a protected communication regardless of the computational capacity of your adversary.
Okay. So, and then focusing on the point that we left, and maybe to the 3 of you, in terms of the use case, the application, so at the end, we're talking about technology development, new technologies that can be put in space and the ground. At the end, it's to serve, in this case, is the issue of security and cryptography. You talked about the challenge, right? The challenge is we will have quantum computers and other technologies as well. There are attacks also using artificial intelligence and other complex technologies that can compromise the security of our networks. And there are long-term assets like satellites or industries that need to protect their data for the long term, that they are at risk today and they need to put a plan to migrate to new technologies, right? So can we talk a little bit about those applications, those fields? Who's going to be benefiting first? Who are you seeing in terms of industries being first movers in terms of consumption of the technology?
Right now, the innovators are the governmental institutions. China is going well ahead of the game in terms of making sure that the technology flies into space, but also is deployed in the ground. And the European Commission is now, as I said before, pouring money to make sure that the technology is crafted here within European boundaries, because when it comes to security, something as serious as cryptography, something that could jeopardize our very democracies even, and the data of any citizen, is very important that as much as possible is sourced from here. So they've been investing on companies like Luxquanta, for example. We secure alongside Quside, in fact, because they have a component of our system. They create the true random set of bits that we send. There we go.
Yeah, please tell us about that, the quantum random number generators.
Yeah, sure. So look, in any cryptographic system, QKD, post-quantum cryptography, conventional cryptography, there is a component you always need, is a secret, right? So you always need to generate a given amount of information that is completely unpredictable to an attacker, right? This is random number generation. They are in our phones, they are in our servers. We're hitting some limitations, and they're using quantum technologies, we can beat those limitations. This is one of the challenges, and that's what we do at Quside. We use quantum physics to produce completely unpredictable random numbers at high rate, and that you can measure and have under control. So we're very proud of being working with companies and space missions, putting the technology. There are challenges in terms of, especially in the space industry, flying stuff into space is not the same as throwing it in a data center. But the materials, the progress, the production is at the stage that this is possible, right? So thanks for the question.
So we were talking about the governmental use. So the European Commission is making sure that you can create this super randomness, no? And it's also making sure as well that European companies are developing this quantum key distribution and is put onto space as well. So there are several initiatives at national and European level to make sure that this link across the space is made.
Frank,
yeah.
In terms of business development?
Yeah, and I think that's indeed, well, I assume everyone is aware indeed of the European initiative, the Irish Square, putting in place a complete secure communication system. And I think probably everyone is aware of the need for that. I think that has become more and more visible the last couple of years. So interestingly, initially when we started on the QKD side, we were primarily looking to commercial customers. So I mentioned British telecoms, telecom operators, data centers, and also banks, because they have, well, some of the bigger banks, they are spread across the world and they have to exchange information. And obviously secure communication is very important for banks. Your financial data is one of the probably most common uses of cryptography. And but more and more, indeed, you see the interest of governments. So the European Commission, in the meantime, has secured the funding for the IRI2 because we started earlier. Basically, we will probably be operational long before IRI2 will be operational. But you see more and more also governments now looking indeed to have for military applications, but not only military applications, also embassies and some secure communication networks that they control better, which could make use of their own QKD SAT networks, so their private networks, or maybe using the IRI2 network later on when it becomes available.
Okay, so we've got a few minutes left. We've been talking a lot about quantum applications for space from the perspective of communications. There are others like sensing, there are others like computing that can be used to develop and calculate orbits, someone was mentioning before. There are many more use cases, but we did not have time to walk into those. So for closing, let's say we have these quantum communications in space, LEO orbit or even GEO orbit. There are missions ongoing to put these technologies. There are in terms of development and governmental, financial, and high-value industries are engaged from the perspective of consumption. So in the last few minutes, I want to ask you, Zina, about a specific thing on quantum, but also as a wrap-up comment is how the audience can engage with you, with your companies in the quantum space. So your closing remarks on where it's going and how they can engage. But before, Zina, last week or 2 weeks ago, there was PuzzleX. There was an incredible event. It was called the Quantum Stakeholder Meeting. And please tell us, what was that about?
Thank you, Carlos. I would like to use this time to bring attention to the fact that we need quantum literacy right now, and we need to raise the profile of quantum. Quantum doesn't belong to a certain sector. Quantum needs to be understood by many different sectors who are going to be intersecting with it. So all of you need to know what quantum can do in terms of preparedness, number one, and in terms of the application development that could happen. We have a very good milestone ahead of us. There is currently a resolution from UNESCO to the United Nations to name 2025 the International Year of Quantum, which is significant. There is going to be a UN-proclaimed year of quantum, which is going to happen. We had the first meeting of that. We were honored to gather those people in Barcelona a few days ago, 10 days ago, and this is an opportunity for all of you to get engaged. This International Year is about understanding what quantum can do and bringing the quantum outside of the quantum sphere and bubble. So I think that we could connect all of you within that quantum initiative and quantum International Year of Quantum, so that collectively we can see where every piece of the puzzle fits.
So if they're sitting there and they want to engage, what do they have to do?
Please contact me on LinkedIn. It's easy to, it's the best way to contact me. Contact me on LinkedIn. I'll put you in touch with our sphere of all of us who are involved in that for the International Year of Quantum, so that we can see what the next is.
Definitely do that. Vanessa.
Closing remarks. Your quantum random number generator is ready. It works. It's being sold as we speak. Our QRNG for terrestrial optical fiber networks, it works. It's really. It's a reality. It's being sold as we speak. So unlike quantum computers, we're ready. So what we can do is get together. One of the things that we're proposing is doing some kind of consultancy to see where in the network it makes sense this technology to be used, because like any in life, there is no one solution to fit every single space. But definitely it's worth looking at employing this technology now, because the reality is that there is not that much time, not as much as we used to have, and it's best to understand how it works, where it can be applied, and define a roadmap together. So the best way to contact us is, I'm here. I actually brought today business cards, believe it or not. And then, of course, on our website, there will be an email there, info@luxquanta.com. We'll be super happy to get together and think about how we enter together into this beautiful quantum era.
Excellent. So Frank, as a wrap-up.
Yeah, so I think I want to bring up 2 points. So one point is indeed the link between the, let's say, space developments and the ground developments. because we are, well, one of the first movers, let's say. We've been talking to other parties that are currently developing, and what we see is that, well, different technical solutions are chosen, which means that optical ground networks are not interchangeable as you currently have with more RF ground networks. So there's probably some work to be done, and I think it would be interesting to discuss a bit how we could come to a more common standard, maybe, to make sure that they will be interchangeable in the future. And then, yeah, we are working on a first development where we are projecting to have more satellites. For that, obviously, we need more people. And obviously, if there are young people interested to join the company as a space engineer, well, you're free to contact me via LinkedIn, via website, and I'll be around here today also.
Excellent. So quantum technology, space technologies, two different fields, but definitely destined to be working together. There are ongoing programs, so definitely time to join on that initiative. Please join me and thank all the speakers for their time. Zina, Vanessa, Frank, thank you very much. Thanks the organizers for having us here, and looking forward to speaking later.